Any questions on the assignment?
Ma'am, yes, ma'am. For the first one, so we have done that at external as center, right? And later, what attribute should we give for a border and red? Like I have tried for the first p tag style equals to text align center, text align and for
Okay.
get that output as a border. Get output.
Have you tried text align center and the border?
Yes.
Border. Have you tried the border?
Yes, ma'am. I have tried border also, but I didn't get that one.
If you use the border equal to 5 pixel or something, then you have to give the solid equal to red.
Okay, I have given border style equals to solid.
Okay, so you have to mention let me log into the Salesforce. So developer console. Let's click on file, new, Visual Force.
You can do this one.
Now I can show it here. So style equal to center and then border equal to 5 pixel and you have to use the solid red.
Okay, for border, we should need to give that value.
Yes.
Okay, but I directly gave border style equals to solid. Border style colon solid.
Just use the border. In case if you do not get how to use it, right click and inspect. If you right click on the inspect, you will see, just right click on this and inspect and just hover it. Then you can see what is the border and everything you can see here. So,
but in W3 schools, I have seen border, yes, ma'am, border style colon solid. I have seen like that, ma'am. So I just tried.
There are different are there. Border hyphen style is there. Just a border is there, right? You have to research more on that. So if border style does not work, then you have to use another border.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions on the second?
Yes, I have one question. So can we also refer here external CSS file, which is somewhere else hosted on the internet? Can I refer this, or maybe can I create here in this file?
What do you mean by that? External CSS means?
There is two type of CSS. One is inline CSS and different CSS. Only I need to refer the file path, and all the CSS class can be inherited in this.
Yes, you can use the external CSS as well as the internal CSS both in the real time. But right now we are using the inline CSS.
Okay.
Okay, we have not reached it to the external CSS. Okay, second, third, fourth, everything is fine, right?
Yes, Swapna, for second question, I use the H1 and the color for H1 also, it is not taking from me.
Have you used text color?
Yes, text color. I used it.
Okay, so it did not change?
Yes, it did not change for me.
Have you used, for example, let's take this. I wanted to change this, okay? So over it, inspect. Okay, so this is the one. Then I'll change here. It changed, right? It is changing. How you have to use it? Color red.
Yes, I did the same thing. in style.
Mhm. I'll add here.
Semicolon, and I kept the color.
Yes.
But
It's
only
a,
for H1 I have taken.
are you doing the same thing, color red? So everything is coming in red. Just make
Yes.
sure you are using the proper. If you are using the capital small also, maybe it is going to differentiate. If you use capital C,
Okay.
okay, sometimes it doesn't work. Okay, just check how you are using this color red. If it doesn't change, right click on this, inspect, and try to add here color or background color. You can try to add a color or a background color. You can use anything. Background color it will change. So like that, it will change background of the particular text.
Yes.
So you can try that.
Okay. Thank you.
And how about the third one? Second one, that is clear, right? This is the bold and this is also bold. And this is
Ma'am, how to
underline.
make italic and underline the text?
This one?
Yes,
That's
and
not
italic also.
no, it is not a italic. It's just a normal.
And sophisticated is bold and italic, right?
Yes, bold and italic, sophisticated. But there is no underline here. Underline is only for post.com.
What tag we need to use for italic?
I look at the CSS. Search for italic in HTML.
Okay.
If you search, in case if you are not able to find in W3 schools, go to the Google and search italic in HTML. So it will directly give you the point of how can you make it. Right, here is the italic. How did they use it? If you use I, then it will display in the italic format. This is all the research you have to do, how to display this text, this one. And here, this is the left and this data is in right. And this should be in the right. I hope third one, fourth one is clear.
Swapna in inspect, it is taking the color, but why
Okay.
it is not taking in developer console? I
Put
couldn't-
your code, you might be having some wrong in that.
Okay.
Okay. And the third one is basically you have to use float right. There is a style called float right. So if you use the float right, everything will be switched to the right. And then you have to also move your list. This is the order list. This is the order list. In HTML, we have a order list OL. So you have to use the order list and then your style position should be initial. Okay, let's do this third one. Okay, let's create a new, how to create a Visualforce page. New Visualforce page. How to create new Visualforce page.
New
File,
new
Visual
Visual
page.
Okay, so let's keep that. This is it. VF right display. Perfect. So Apex page. Now, what is the assignment here? One of the assignment is this has to come in right side. So first thing is that, okay, now let me give here. Okay. So first one is this entire text has to be right. So the style has to be right. And the second one is this one. This is second, where I need to put order. Order in the reverse format. And the third one is this one. This is, there should be a bullet point here and it should display a note in the bold and rest all normal text. So how many are there? First one, which is showing in the right side, and the second one is displaying the list. Third one is bullet point. Okay, so let's go ahead and implement the first one. First one is dev. So that entire thing is in the div section. So I will use the div section, and within the section, the first one is right side. So for the right side, what I'll do is style equal to float colon right. This is a HTML style. Float colon right. Perfect. So the second one is this text. So let me add this text. This text is in order. We have in HTML, we have a order list. For order list, we have to use OL. Okay. Then inside this, there is a each list we have to give SAP, one list, and the second one AWS, and the third one is Salesforce. Perfect. Let's click on save. Just see the preview, how it is displaying it. Right. It is displaying the right side, but it is displaying as 1, 2, 3. Whereas ours is 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. Right? Ours is 3, 2, 1. Let me combine my two pages. Okay, let me combine it here. Okay. It is displaying 1, 2, 3, but I need it in the reverse format. How it should come? 3, 2, 1, it should come. So for that, we have a one of the attribute in OL is called reversed. Reversed equal to true. If I give reverse equal to true, and let's look at the output. Perfect, it is coming in 3, 2, 1. Now next, what is our next one? This note has to be displayed, right? Note has to be displayed in bullet point. This is a bullet point, right? In order to display the bullet point, in HTML, we have a UL. We have UL. UL tag in HTML. Search, you will find it. Not that one. So in W3 school, you will see UL tag. This is unordered HTML list. So how it is displaying? It displays in bullet point. Right? So I'm going to use the same one for the note. So order list is going to show me 1, 2, 3. If we use the reversed, it is going to show in highest number to lowest number. Next one, I'm going to use the UL. UL is unordered list, and inside this we'll have a li. Now here, note colon Salesforce is word number 1 CRM. Let's see the output. See here, it is coming 3, 2, 1 and the notepad. Everything is coming here. Is it coming exactly same? No, the note is in bold format. Right, so what I need to do, I need to make note to display in the bold format. In order to display the text in the bold, we have to use the B. Perfect, let's go ahead and see the output. See, 3, 2, 1, third one is SAP, second one is AWS, one is Salesforce, and note is bold, and Salesforce is world number 1 CRM. Perfect, that is how it is displaying. Right? So whenever we give a task, okay, whenever I give a assignment, first divide it. How many tags, how many you have to use it. For example, this one. If you take this one, the first one is border. This is first one. Then inside this box, you need to add a text. Adding a text is the second one. Okay. And in between this, you need to have a gap. That means you have to use the paragraph. So third. And the fourth one is, this should be a red color. And the fifth one is, wherever the bold is there, we have to use the bold. And the next one is, whether it is a italic, wherever it is there, italic, we have to use the italic. And last one is underline. So total, how many I'm using it here? This is the fourth one, fifth, 6 tags I'm going to use it. So always divide the assignment. First you divide it, understand the complete what to implement it instead of directly jumping into the code. Just understand the assignment. What are tags do we need to use it? How many tags do I need to use it? Total, how many steps is it coming? So once you decide the steps, then you go for implementing it so that you will have a clarity what needs to be used. Because when you are noting down how many you have to use it, that time only you will get a clarity what attribute or what tag do I need to use it in order to display the Salesforce. So you will get a clarity here. Once you got the clarity, then go to the developer console and start implementing your code. So do not jump on the developer console to start it. Clear this assignment? Any questions on this assignment?
No.
Okay. So same thing for the fourth one. To the HR should be in the left side. Address, street number, building name, and city, mobile number is right side. Right side, and there is a gap here. After the DHR, there is a line gap or the paragraph gap here. Then we have a address information. Perfect. So let's move on to our session, day 4. Now, what are we going to learn today? Today's agenda. So what are we going to learn? We will review what we have learned yesterday, just a recap of the previous session. Then we'll understand attributes in the Apex page tag. And we will learn the new tag called Apex PageBlock. Apex PageBlock. Then what are the attributes in the Apex PageBlock? And then we will learn about the debug logs, how to put the debug logs, what is the limit, and what are the different places to put the debugs. Everything we will learn today. Then we'll have a homework and interview questions. Okay. So quick review about the previous session. Yesterday, we have learned what is the visual force. Right? We have understood what is the visual force and what are the properties of visual force. We have understood what are the different properties of visual force and we have understood the decoding of Apex page tag, and we have understood everything in the Apex page. Then how to use the developer console, how to start with the developer console. If I am into the Salesforce Lightning, where to go, what are the navigation steps to open the developer console. If I am in the Classic, what are the navigation steps to go to the developer console, we have seen yesterday. And also we have seen navigation steps to create a new Visual Force page, right? So let's move on. Yesterday we have learned Apex page. Yesterday we have learned Apex page. So let me create the new Visual Force page. VF underscore day 4. Okay. Now yesterday we have learned Apex page. Whenever we create a Visual Force page, by default, it will have a open Apex colon page and close Apex colon page. Now, how many times can I write this? How many times can I write this? Can I repeat this Apex colon page? Can I write like this? Multiple times I wanted to write the Apex page. Can I write this? Is it possible? Can I implement in the single VF page? Can I write the multiple Apex pages? No, we cannot. Apex page, opening of the Apex page and closing of the Apex page will have it only one time. We cannot use this multiple times. We cannot use this multiple times. Right? Only one time, whatever we are writing, we have to write it within this. Now, if you want to create a different Apex page, then you have to go and create a new Visual Force page. You cannot repeat Apex colon page multiple times. Now, what are the attributes that we can use it in the Apex page tag? There are different tags, right? First of all, there are different attributes. First of all, we do not have any mandatory attribute inside the Apex page tag. But there are 10 or more than 10 attributes are there. Today we are going to talk about only few things. Okay, only 4 or 5 attributes we are going to discuss. And rest all attributes, whenever we need it, that time I'll explain it. Okay. So inside the Apex page, we use sidebar. We use sidebar attribute. If you go to the, okay. So now I'll display here. Testing Apex colon page. Okay. Now. So if I preview this, if I click on a preview button, what is happening? I am in the Lightning right now. I am in Lightning. Okay, I am in Lightning, right? But if I switch to the Classic, I'll switch to the Classic and I'll close this result. And again, I'll click on a preview. When I click on a preview in Classic, what happens? You see there is a different, it shows, it is a different output in the Lightning and in the Classic. Where it comes to Classic, usually we implement a Visual Force for Classic, right? If you are implementing a Visual Force for Classic, Classic has a 2 things. One is, this is the header, right? This is entirely header. Till this point, it is a header. And this one, sidebar. You have a sidebar. This is the sidebar and this is the header. Now, Salesforce Classic, when you are previewing your Visual Force page, Classic does not remove automatically the sidebar and header. Sidebar and header, it won't remove it. Whereas in the Lightning, it will be automatically removed. You need not to write it. So if I say sidebar attribute, sidebar is always expects the Boolean value. So if I give it true, so by default, the sidebar, if I do not mention the sidebar, by default will be always true. True means display the sidebar, display this sidebar. If I say false, what will happen? I'm saying to the Salesforce, I do not want to see the sidebar. So as soon as I say sidebar equal to false, the sidebar will go away. Sidebar will go away. So sidebar is, type is Boolean type. By default, it will be, if you are not mentioning the sidebar, by default, it is always take the sidebar equal to true for classic. True for classic. Whereas the lightning experience and mobile app, the attribute will be overridden and always sidebar equal to false. In lightning, when we are viewing the lightning or Salesforce mobile, by default, Salesforce is changing the sidebar equal to false. So if you are in a classic, by default, sidebar is true. If you are in a lightning, by default, Salesforce is changing this sidebar to false. Lightning, experience, or mobile, by default, Salesforce changes sidebar to false. But classic, you have to mention it. For classic, Salesforce is giving the by default value is true. So true means display the sidebar in classic. If you change it to false, that means remove the sidebar. And the next attribute is show header. Show
Swapna?
header. Yes.
Yeah. What is this Salesforce mobile app? Is it different?
We can
We use
open the Salesforce in mobile also. You can install the Salesforce in mobile.
Yeah, but we will be using the same Visual Force, LWC, or Aura for the mobile app as well, right? Or is it a different language or different framework?
No. Salesforce mobile is similar to the Lightning experience.
Okay.
Okay. Show header is also similarly like we have a show header. In classic, by default, show header is showing here. Now, if I do not want to display the show header, then say show header equal to false. That means I do not want to see the header. I do not want to see the header. So show header is also classic. Classic is always by default true. That means it will always display. When it is a Lightning experience and mobile, show header is by default false. That's the reason when you are viewing the Visual Force, you cannot see this, though you have not mentioned this show header equal to false, sidebar equal to false, right? If you do not have this value, if you go to the Visual Force page, it is displaying. But when you switch to the classic, when you switch to the Lightning, and if you click on a preview button here, if you are in a Lightning, if you click on a preview on the Visual Force page, it will automatically remove the header and sidebar. So Lightning, mobile, Salesforce mobile, both will be removing the header and sidebar. Okay, so let's refresh this. Yes, I'm in Lightning. So let me switch to the classic. Click on this avatar and switch to Salesforce Classic. Now, another one, ID. every tag has an attribute called ID. Every tag has an attribute called ID. What is this ID? ID type is a string. It is expecting a string, whereas sidebar show header is a Boolean value where you have to give true and false. But ID is string. You have to mention the string. Now, what is the ID here? Identifier. ID is nothing but identifier. Identifier of the page or identifier of the component. So what it will do, it will allow the other component to call this page. The other component to call this page. So let me open the Paint. So I have the two components here. One is here, another one is here. Okay. This is a component or a Visualforce page. Let's say this is a demo 1 and this is demo 2. Let's use the different names. This is Visualforce 1, page 1, and this is Visualforce 2. These two are different. Now, VF2 wants to talk to VF1. VF1 wants to talk to VF2 wants to talk to VF1. This component needs some information from this component. Otherwise, this cannot execute. This needs some input from Visualforce 1. Now, how this will call Visualforce page, how it will call this VF1? VF1 should have some name, right? It should have some name. For example, inside you do not want to call this entire thing, okay? You wanted to call this is one page, this is another page. And the second page needs some information from component 1. In that case, what it will do is it will call based on the information that based on the ID you are mentioning. So you will give ID equal to page 1. You will mention ID equal to page 1. So what VF2 will do? Okay, it will say that call page 1. Okay, I'm just explaining. Practically, we will see it later. VF2 will say that, okay, go ahead and call this page 1. So it will go and search in the org, where is the page 1? It will find the exact Visualforce page, where is the page 1 is there. Then it will try to call that page 1 here. Right? There is another scenario. Another scenario is I am in same VF page. I am in VF page. Within the VF page, we have a different sections. Like this is one div section, this is another div section, and this is another div section. Okay, let's assume that this is a contact details, and this is the address information, and this is other information. Okay, now this is the one div, and this is the second div section, and this is the third section. Now one need information from other. Okay, contact, while executing the contact, this contact has to call the information that is present in the other section. So what we will do here, okay, whenever I'm declaring this div section, I'll mention ID equal to, I'll give a name other. So what this contact will do, okay, after executing certain lines of the contact, then it will call, it will say that, okay, call other section. So it will go and it will identify where is the other section. It will check first in the second div, whether it is available here, it is not there. Is it available here? Yes, it is there. So then call this. This is what is expected from the contact. So ID is nothing but identifier. Identifier for the page or the component that allows the, what it will do, it will basically allows it to be referenced by the other component or referenced by the other page. If it is a referenced by the other component, it has to be same page. If it is a referenced by the other page, then there should be a 2 pages has implemented. So every tag you see, there is a attribute called ID. Attribute called ID. So here I'll say ID equal to page 1. Does this page 1 displays on the page? No, it doesn't. That is just for internal purpose. It doesn't show. It is just internal purpose. It doesn't show here. Whatever the page 1 I have written, it doesn't show anywhere, right? This is for whom, for what? It is for the developers. ID is used by the developers. If you want to call another Visual Force page, if you wanted to call another div section, if you want to call another component within the same Visual Force page, then ID is used here in order to call that particular section, in order to call that particular div, in order to call that particular component. So ID is specified. If you want to render it, if you want to reload the page after executing. So let's suppose live example this is. For example, you have displayed the contact information, okay? After entering the code, user has to enter 3 fields. Assume that their contact number, mobile number, and there is a secondary mobile number. As soon as the user entered this, I wanted to reload this. I wanted to reload this other page. Initially, when user has loaded this Visual Force page, it is displaying only contact and address. As soon as the user opened this Visual Force page or the application, they have opened this application, right? And they can see only 2 div sections here. One is contact and another one is address. But based on the input on the secondary mobile number, if they give the secondary mobile number, immediately it has to call the another div section and render this, display this section as well to the users. Clear? So for rendering also we use the ID. Based on the ID, we reload the page, reload the div, reload the component. There are other, yeah.
I didn't understand, like, what happened if you don't add the ID?
If you do not, okay, so for example, you have not added the ID. Let me take another example. Let's clear this. Okay. I have a Visual Force page. Okay, this is the page. Here we have contact details. Of the customer. And the second div is address. Address 1. Another one, address 2. Okay. There is a radio button here in the address 1. Which says that provide secondary address details. Okay. Perfect. Now, as soon as the user opened the page, they have opened the application. when they have opened the application, they can see that there is some data needs to be filled in the contact details, right? Once it is filled, they are able to see only two boxes here. One is contact details, another one is address one details, and there are some input values here, okay, to enter the data. Now, as soon as a user select this, provide secondary address details, right? As soon as I provide this secondary additional details, I need to display another box here. How can I display? What is the way to display another box? As soon as the user select this radio button, I wanted to display another div section where it shows address to. How will you call that? As a developer, how do you take it up? So based on this pick list value, we have to show another div section.
Got it. Thank you.
Right? So I don't know here, there is somewhere it is hanging this one, but I don't know how to call this one. I do not have a clarity how to call this, but this is there somewhere in the browser, it is there, but I don't know how to call because there is no name has given to it. There is no name has given to it. If I say how to give a name here, I have to mention ID equal to page 2. If I mention this ID equal to page 2, then developer will understand, okay, as soon as this is a true, I need to call page 2. I need to render or I need to display the page 2. Now I know the name of that component. Now I know the name of that component is a page 2. That is the identifier of that page, that component. Like we have a Aadhaar card. Aadhaar card is identifier for us to identify. Wherever we go, we have to show the Aadhaar card. Like a Emirates ID in Dubai, wherever we go, we have to show that Emirates ID. If I have to open the bank account or anything, that is the identification for me that I'm living in Dubai. That is the identification that I'm in the India. So that is the identifier which tells me that yes, I am from India or yes, I am from Dubai. Right? So here also every component, every page should have a ID equal to page 2. ID equal to page 2. So that is the identifier name. So based on that, we are going to, developer is going to call this page. So as soon as the user selected, developer has already written the code to call the page 2. Now what it will do, okay, user has selected that. Now there is somewhere it is hanging in the web browser. Let me bring it and show that to the user. So immediately it will display here. Now in case if you do not have this kind of a scenario, in case if you do not have this kind of a scenario, you need not to use an ID. Not mandatory that you have to use ID every time. No, you need not. If you do not have a requirement, these kind of a requirements are not there. So you are implementing a simple page. Then in that case, ID is not required. ID only required to identify, to call that page, to call that component. Right? If you do not have that requirement to call another page or call another component, render some section or render the field, if you do not have these concepts, you need not to use the ID. Ali, you have, yeah, Ali, yeah. Ali, you have written something. I don't understand that.
Yeah, sorry, you already clarified. I just confused the language of typing.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you so much for clarifying that. I also had the doubts.
Yeah. So that is the ID. Okay, so ID is not mandatory every time. ID is not mandatory. If you have a requirement of the rendering or displaying, then only you can use it. So These are mostly used if you are these two fields are used if you are implementing Visualforce page for a classic. This is needed. Sidebar, show header, and ID also we will be using it. Okay, so there are other attributes also. Whoever is already working in Visualforce, hold on. Okay, there are other attributes like a standard controller, many are there. We will come to that point. For now, remember these three are important. Whoever is learning for the first time Visualforce. So sidebar, show header is basically if you do not want to see the header in the classic, if you do not want to see the sidebar in the classic, just mention sidebar equal to false, show header equal to false. That means it will remove that. Okay, there is another attribute also, which is called setup. What is this setup? Setup equal to true. What it does, setup equal to true means. So let's give it a
setup button.
Setup button. Okay. Now I'll go back to the page. Okay, let me refresh. Nothing is coming here. Now I'll say false. Let's say refresh. Nothing is coming. Let's take out this. Because it is overriding your sidebar. Sidebar is overriding the setup. Now I'll refresh. Now what happens? Setup is showing here. Okay. And here sidebar is there, header is there. Now I'll change this to true. Let's refresh. What is happening here? Setup still there. But do you see here sidebar has changed? Sidebar has changed. That means setup is nothing but if you give a true, that means, so usually what happens, let me give false. Okay, I have given the false. Okay, so this is
Normal
usual,
page.
yeah, normal how we see the
Page.
output of Visualforce
Yes.
page. But when you click on a setup, what will happen?
The setup page is open.
Sidebar is going to override. Whatever you have a sidebar, now you will see the sidebar has overwritten to quick find search. Now, for example, you want a Visualforce that needs to be implemented, but you want to display the sidebar for that. So what you can do is setup equal to true. You can mention setup equal to true. What will happen by default without clicking this? You will be always seeing the quick find and search. Now show header equal to false. What happened? Show header is overwritten. Show header is overwritten. So you cannot use show header, show sidebar, including and setup together. You cannot use setup, show header. You cannot use together. Sidebar and setup also you cannot use together. Okay, so if you want to remove the header and you still need a setup, no, we cannot use it. So this is only going to work in classic if you want to see the setup. This is how you will see when you do not have a show header, only that time the setup attribute works. Otherwise it won't work. If you switch to the lightning, does setup work if I switch to the lightning?
No.
It won't. Others? Will it work or
No,
no?
ma'am.
No, because by default, setup is false. I think so.
Okay, let's click on preview. It's always taking me to the classic. Though I am in the lightning. See, I am in lightning right now. Let's load this. Okay, I'm in lightning. Now I'll click on a preview. What is happening? It is taking me back to the classic. It is taking me back to the classic. If I remove the setup and say, click on preview. Okay. Perfect, it is displaying fine. Now I'll add back. Setup equal to true and then save. Immediately it is switching back to the classic. Setup does not work in the lightning.
Lightning.
It does not work in the lightning. Now, whenever I'm clicking on a preview, have you observed this one? Have you observed this one? Whenever I click on a preview, have you observed this one? From Apex. From Apex, Apex is, that means you are reviewing the Visualforce page. And then you have a Visualforce page name, VF_day4. That is our Visualforce page name, VF_day4. And then immediately we'll have a question mark, right? Question mark, core Apex pages request dev console equal to 1. For any Visualforce page, this is standard. Core Apex pages is standard. And this page name will be changing based on whichever the page you are viewing it. For example, if I'm going to preview the another page, if I click on another page, let me go to VF program, click on preview. See here, it is changing the my first program. My first program, my_first_ program. So after the slash and before the question mark is always displayed the Visualforce page name. Is always displayed the Visualforce page name. Apex slash, Apex is the common, Apex means you are viewing the Visualforce page. Apex slash your Visualforce page name, question mark, then you have a core Apex pages, request dev console. Okay, clear this slide?
No, it is still not clear why it is moving to classic.
Because setup is always supports classic. You cannot use the setup for the lightning.
Okay. That's all.
Yeah, because the sidebar is available only for classic. Whatever the sidebar is there, this sidebar is only available in the classic. In lightning, do you see the sidebar? You don't see. If you have to go for setup, you have to click on a setup and it will take you to the another page.
Okay.
Okay, so the sidebar will not be available for lightning. Okay.
Swapna, one question here.
Yeah.
Header will work for lightning or header also will not work for lightning?
For header, lightning experience and mobile app, attribute is overridden. That means it is always false.
Okay, so.
Okay, let's move on to the next step, next slide.
Then
Apex,
there is no need to write a show header for lightning, right?
yes, you need not to write because there won't be header, sidebar won't be available for the lightning.
Yes, okay.
Okay,
if we write, what will happen?
nothing, it will be same. It won't show. It will be same. So I'll put sidebar equal to false and show header equal to false. That means I wanted to remove. Anyway, Salesforce itself is making as a false. Whenever I add a sidebar, false means this is only works in the classic. In Lightning, it is always false.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yeah. Next, Apex page block. Open Apex page block and close Apex page block. What is this tag will do? It will create a block in the page. When I say block in the page, let's take this. Let's go to the home. Okay. Let me switch to the classic. Okay. Now, do you see this section here? Let me copy. This is one of the div section. This is one block. This is one block. Now, if you want to implement similar in the whatever it is showing in the classic, you want to implement exactly same. You want to implement, let's not take this. Okay, let's take the other one. So do you see here items to approve? This is one block. Okay. Now, I wanted to implement exactly same. When I say same means, I wanted to display items to approve. Okay, you can put any name also, that should be all fine. Okay. I need this blue color line or some color line should be coming. And then second one is exactly same as this items to approve, or you can put any name here. And the third one here, items to approve help. And there is a help icon is there, right? There is a help icon, items to approve help. Perfect. So if I click on that, what will happen? It will take me to the another page. If I click on this, it will take me to the another page. So exactly same. Right now, forget about this button and forget about no records to display. Now I wanted to at least build this block. Whatever the outer block is there, we wanted to build using the Visualforce page. We wanted to build the Visualforce page. If we have to build the Visualforce page,
Ma'am, small suggestion, like you can keep the developer console in this Chrome of switching to other.
yeah. So let's understand the Apex page block first, then I'll go to the developer console. So Apex page block is to create a block, to create a block in the page, to create a block in the page, similar like a Salesforce detail page, whatever I have shown in the classic. If we want to implement a block, then we have to use the Apex page block. When we say Apex page block, what is this exactly? So let's decode that Apex page block, then we will go to the practical. So Apex page block, then we will have a attributes and closing Apex page block. So we'll have a open Visualforce tag and we'll have a close Visualforce tag. Now Apex is a, as we know, that it is a prefix namespace. For all the Visualforce all the Visualforce page tags starts with the Apex. Apex is the namespace. Colon, then we'll have a component name. Here our component name is PageBlock. Here our component name is PageBlock. Then what is this title equal to text to display? This is one of the attribute. So after the PageBlock, we will write the attributes. Attributes we have to write in the open Visualforce tag. There won't be attributes in the close. There won't be any attributes when we are closing the tag. When we are opening the tag, that time only we'll have attributes. Closing is just a close and the Visualforce tag name. This is how we write Apex:PageBlock. Now, what are the attributes available in the Apex:PageBlock? Now, Apex:PageBlock also does not have mandatory attributes. Now, there is one of the attribute called title. Title is nothing but title. The type of input is string. Title accept only the string. What it is basically to display the text on the header, on the title of the page block. Like we have a page block, right? We have a page block. There is a page block. And in this page block, what is this? So we have a page block. In this page block, we wanted to show some header here. If we have to show the header, then we have to use the title. We have to use the title. Title is to display the text on title of the page block. Now the next attribute is ID. As I have mentioned, ID is another attribute name which is available for Apex page block. ID is nothing but identifier. What it will do if any another page component or page block component wants to refer or wants to call this page block, then identifier is used. An identifier that allows the page block component to be referenced by other component in the page. Now the third one is DIR. This is basically the direction. Whether you wanted to display right to left or left to right. How you wanted to display the title, whether you want right to left or left to right, you can decide it. Then we have something called help text, help title. Help title is, right now we have seen one help line. There was one help line, right? In the right side, you have seen this help line. Before that, some text was there, right? So what the text needs to be displayed here is decided by help title. What is the text that needs to be displayed before this help icon is decided by this help title. Also, if I hover on this, what text needs to be displayed is decided by help title. Now, along with the help title, we also have to use another attribute, help URL. Help URL and help title has to be used together. Help URL is when you click on that help title, there should be a URL that it should take you. On clicking of that text, right, where it should go. You have to mention the URL of a web page in the help URL. Now, let's go here. Developer console. Perfect. So let me take out this Apex page. Now, Apex page block. Where should we write the Apex page block? Is that inside the Apex page or it should be outside the Apex page? Where should we need to write?
Inside the Apex page block.
Inside the Why can't we write outside of the Apex page? Others?
For a visual force
Space
page,
the
everything we need to write inside the Apex page tags.
It should be within the Apex page.
Then only we can display anything.
Right, perfect. Now, within the Apex page, we are using the another tag called Apex page block. Right? It has open and close. Now, what do I need to write here? First, I need a title. Let's say title equal to contact information. Title equal to contact information. Let's save this. Click on preview. If we click on preview, what will happen? What is happened here? Contact information is shown. Contact information is shown. Right? So I have not done anything. I have not done anything. I have simply used the, hold on a second. Let me open that. Okay. I have simply used the Apex page block title equal to contact information. One line of code. See what is the output that we are getting. What is the output we are getting? Contact information. Above that we have some text. Okay. Now, title is coming here. Now I need a help text this side. I need a help text. So we have another attribute called help title. I'll say contact details. See, I cannot use the help title single. If I have to use the help title, then I need to use help URL also. These two has to be used together. I cannot use single, or I cannot use either help title or help URL. I cannot use single attribute. I have to use both. If I'm using the help title, then I have to use the help URL. If I'm using the help URL, I have to use the help title. So help URL is, I'm just giving the name of W3 school. You can give a website, you can give anything. You can give anything. So let's click on the save. Perfect. It is displaying the contact details. If I hover, contact details, new window. Click on this, it will open the W3 school. Right? For example, you do not want to call the W3 school. You wanted to call another page that you have implemented. We have another page called preview. Now I wanted to call this. I wanted to call this one. How can I call? Before I have given https://www.w3schools.com. That is the website name. Now, if I want to call the Visual Force page that is implemented by me. That is implemented. What is the visual force that we have implemented? This is the visual force that is implemented. Right? Now what I'll do is I'll give enter. Control F, save. Now what will happen if I give enter link? Now let's refresh this. If I click on this, perfect. It is giving me the exact output. No, I'm already inside this org. Why should I need to give again the org here? Cannot I give from the apex? What will happen if I give it from the apex? What will happen if I give it from the apex? Does it take or not? Does it take or not?
Yes, take. Yes, it will take.
It will take because you are already in this org. We are not switching to any other. By default, visual force is going to take whatever the org we are in, it will by default, it will take the same org. Then from after the .com, my.salesforce.com, after that automatically it will combine your URL from the apex. So it will take, you need not to mention the entire URL, you can just mention the apex class, my first name, that is also should work.
Swapna, I have a question. If we remove in developer console after question mark, my first program question mark, if we remove that, it can run or not?
Let's see. So let's refresh.
Yeah, remove this all.
Let's click on the contact. Yes, it is coming. Because after question mark, whatever is there, that is by default core, right?
Yes. Yeah, it's okay.
Okay, any other question or do you want me to repeat?
Ma'am, defaultly it is taking left side the title and right side the contact details for the blog.
Which left side, which right side?
So here title we mentioned as contact information.
Right.
In the page it is defaultly it is taking left side, right? Text center alignment or
Yes,
no
it
need
will
to do.
automatically take this side.
Okay, if we want to make anything center in the center means we need to use the text align there.
You need to use lightning design system that we will come later.
Okay.
Yes, HTML, CSS also you can use it.
So help URL is equivalent to href of HTML, right?
Yeah.
Swapna?
Yeah.
So if we have to use page blocks, then when do we use HTML tags and when do we use the Apex tag? What's the difference?
If you have some text, okay. If you have some text and I just wanted to display this as a paragraph. I do not have any visual force tag to display the paragraph. In that case, I can simply use paragraph. HTML tag called paragraph, I can use it.
Okay. Okay. And like how we have W3 School for HTML, do we have any such reference website for Visual Force?
Yes, there is a website. If you go to the developer.salesforce.com, there you will see. Okay. So here, these all are visual force page tags. Standard components. Whatever the standard components you see here, these all are visual force tags. Okay, whatever it starts with Apex, in real time we use it. Whatever you see charter, those all are related to charter. Very rarely we use it. So we will not be using that.
So all that is starting with Apex is Visual Force, right?
Yes, only focus on the Apex colon. Do not focus on anything apart from the Apex colon.
Okay. So this is now UI, right? For the UI development, and then we have Apex for backend as well. So they will be, so does any difference? Means we have to focus on certain controls or something like that?
We have not reached the backend logic yet. So we are still in the user interface.
So these all texts are for UI only, right? From on this Visual Force Developer Guide.
Yes, we are right now on the user interface. We are working on the user interface. There is no logic that we are working right now.
Okay.
So you guys can go through this document. If anybody has anything, questions or anything, you can go through that. Okay, do I need to repeat this or are you clear?
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, so let's move on. Next one is a debug logs. This is very important for the developers, debug logs. What is this debug log? Debug log is used to track the events, whatever is happening in the org, I wanted to track. Whatever the actions are happening, whatever the events are happening, if there are any integration is happening. Basically, we wanted to track those information. So the tracking will happen using the debug log. So these debug logs are generated by the either developer or the user. When I say user, at the backend, developer will be putting the debug log on the end user. In real time, that's what we do. What we do is if any user or any clients are complaining, saying that something is not working. As soon as we hear that it is not working, the first thing is that we will ask who is trying to do the action. Who are the persons? Is it internal team or is it somebody else? So they will give the details. Based on the details, we will put a debug log on that person name so that whenever he is doing the action, once we put the debug log, we will inform the client, okay, I have added some debug logs. Can you tell the person to try again the same flow? Then once the user tries the same flow, if they get any issue, they immediately inform us. Like we have tried this time also we got the issue. So then what we will do, we will go to the debug log and we will see each and every step in the debug log and try to identify where it is breaking, which flow it is breaking. Everything we have to see in the debug log. I'll show right now how to put the debug log. Let's understand the definition and some information here, right? So for the test cases and when we execute the code also, while executing the code or while running the test classes, developers use the debug log to understand where it is failing my code. So that time also developers use it. So basically everybody in Salesforce uses admin, developer, consulting, architect, technical architect, solution architect, lead, everybody will be using the debug logs. Now, Salesforce has a debug log limit called 1000 MB per org. Every org, every Salesforce org has a limit called 1000 MB. And each log limit is 20 MB or smaller. It should be smaller. Hardly we see in bytes logs, but each debug log limit should be 20 MB. If you have a more than 20 MB, then you might have to modify your code or you need to make a changes. System.debug, you have to remove certain places, everything we have to make changes in order to get into the 20 MB. That's what we do it in the real time also. So each debug log has to be 20 MB or it should be smaller. So I have never seen reaching to the 20 MB. But if you have a 20 MB, that means in your code, after every line, there is a system debug. If you are using so much of system.debug code, that means that is not the right. You should not be using the system.debug for every line of code. Okay, so system.debug is one of the Apex line, so that we will see. So whenever you use the system.debug, it takes a lot of memory at the debug log side. So that's the reason whoever is the perfect or whoever is a solution architect, they first ask, how many debug logs do you have before pushing your code to the production? If you are pushing the code to the production, they don't allow you pushing the changes along with the system.debug log. Very rare places we have to put where we feel that if we get an error, there is no place to identify. We need some place. If you feel that, then only put the system.debug. Hardly 1 or 2 will be there in the production. So we will not be using, wherever we want, we will not be using any debug logs. So when you are developing it, that time you can use it. But when you are pushing the changes to the production, remove your debug logs. Yes.
Yes, Swapna. Do we have breakpoints or debugger in the developer console so that we don't have to put the debugger, system.debug?
No, we do not have that kind of a facility. But debug logs will give you where the logic is executed. I'll show you how it is given. Though you do not have a breakpoint, everything, but still when you put a debug log on particular person name, it will give everything step by step, including the line number, so that you will understand where exactly it is failing. Okay, so how to set up this, how to search the debug log? There are multiple places we have. One is, as shown yesterday, debug logs are available in the developer console. Also, if you want to put in Salesforce, go to setup and search for a debug log. Search for debug log, then you will see the debug log option. As soon as you search for a debug log, and when you are trying to put a debug on particular person name or anything, there are few options it will give you. When you click on a new debug log, search for a debug log, then click on a new button. As soon as you click on a new button, it will ask some information. Traced entity type. What is your traced entity type? That means, do you want to put a debug log on user, or do you want to put debug log on Apex class, or do you want to put debug log on Apex trigger, or do you want to put debug log on automation process, or do you want to put debug log on platform event? Whoever doesn't know platform event, automation process, Apex trigger, Apex classes, do not worry. Okay, if you are hearing these words for the first time, do not worry about that. We will be doing that. So it will ask this different type of option. If we select a user, now I wanted to put debug log on user. The next question is asked is traced entity type. If you want to put type is user, then entity name is a lookup field, where you have to click on that lookup field, then it will give you some option which user you wanted to put. If there are 100 users, out of the 100 users, which user you wanted to put the debug log. Select that particular user name in the entity name, traced entity name. Then it will ask start date. From when you wanted to start capturing the logs for that particular user. Enter the date, and then when you want to stop the debug logs for that particular user, that is expiration date. Then finally, we have a debug level. Debug levels there are different type of debug levels are there. If you want, you can also create a debug level, right? There are different options will be there, we will see. Now let's go back to the Salesforce. Now, one option is where you can see the debug logs here, right? When you click on the logs, you will see all the debug logs. See, hardly it will be KB, 5 KB, 4 KB, or 10, maximum 5 KB it will be there. I have not seen more than that. So like this, it will be there. KBs will be there. You can see this debug log. In another option is where you can go to the setup. Click on setup. Right now I'm in a classic, okay? Click on a setup and search for debug log. Click on a debug log. Now, in debug log, this is a trace flag, user trace flag, and these are the debug logs. These are the two blocks are there here, user trace flag and debug log. And debug log. Now, first you need to click on a new. If you want to put a debug log, click on a new. As soon as you click on a new, that means I'm creating a new trace flag, right? Right now, how many we have a trace flag? Only one trace flag. When was it? It was 5:42 to 7:09. Okay, in the morning maybe. So if I click on new,
So this is the Swapna, this is the default debug log which is created by the Salesforce, right?
No.
Or was it created by you?
It is created by me. Hold on for a second. So let's create a new trace log. So here, traced entity type is asking 5 options: automation, automated process, platform integration, user, Apex class, Apex trigger. Now we do not know Apex class, Apex trigger, platform integration, automated process. We do not know. We just wanted to put it on the user. I want to put the debug log on the user. Perfect. Who is the entity name? What is the traced entity name? Click on this lookup field. If you click on a lookup field, it will give you the option. In case if you do not see here, search for the user. You can search anybody here. For example, integration user, I wanted to search. You can search it. Or I wanted to put it on DEC batch because I am the one. Right? I am the one, DEC batch. Now, when to start? The start date. The start date is today. I wanted to place current time is 7:07 a.m. Right. I wanted to put the debug log from now onwards. Till when? Till half an hour. 30 minutes I wanted to track what this user is doing. Right. Perfect. Then I'll click on a debug log. I'll click on a debug log. Now, debug level is a lookup field. Either you can choose existing one, the one which are there, existing one, you can choose it. Okay, there is only one. I have SFDC dev console. If you do not want to choose this, okay, then create your own debug level. Create your own debug level. Now, when you are creating the debug level, it will give you some information about the debug level. It will give some information about the debug level. Database, these are the categories. Database, whether you wanted to capture the database, just an information or a finest. Okay, what is the finest? I'll tell you, hold on a second. In case if you do not want any database information, even info also I do not need it, then click on none. But if you are looking for, no, I want to track database. When I say database, SOCL, SOCL, query mode or DML operations, whatever save point, whatever we are doing, rollback, everything, I need to know the information. Whatever is, whether I'm doing the DML operation or whatever is happening through that person, I need a information, but I do not need a detailed information. I just need a information. Workflows. Workflows, all the workflows, events, process build, no process builders are not there. Flows, scheduled, whatever is happening, the flows, event flow or workflow rules, lightning flows, and if there are any scheduled flows, we can track everything. If you want, every category has a different levels, okay? Database has only 3 options because apart from this, it cannot capture any other information. Now, workflow has few more options. None means I do not want to track any workflow related logs. I wanted to track only the error related logs for the workflow. No, I need only warning messages for the workflows, or I just need a information. And finer, finest, hold on that. Next, validation. Category is validation. All the validations for all the objects, right? Do I need a info or I do not need anything about the validation? Because validation, apart from info, you cannot capture anything. So that's the reason we have only 2 levels. Call out, if there are any APIs, REST API, SOAP API, any call outs are happening, or if you are doing any named credentials or anything, if you are doing it, and if you are getting some error, you decided which level of information you needed. Do you need just a info information, or do you need just error information, or you need finest or none? Okay. Next, we have a Apex code. Apex code, we usually use the debug. Okay, but again, you can decide it whether you want none, error, warning, information, debug, or these all information. Developers usually select the Apex code is a debug. Now, next one is Apex profiling. So this is just a information. This is a cumulative information or testing limits. And then Visual Force we have. Visual Force also will give the information. There is no debug point. Why we have debug only in the Apex code? Debug is not available anywhere. Because debug code is available only at the Apex code. Visual Force does not have a debug code. Apex only has the debug code, system.debug. That is a debug which is available only in the Apex. Visual Force does not have a debug. That's the reason it does not have any debug option here. Now, system, whether it is running in the system mode or it is running in the different mode, or is there any duplicates are happening, or any traces which are happening, any matching criteria that is happening in the system. We wanted to capture the debug log. System also will have this debug logs. So you can decide whether you wanted to see the system information, or if you doesn't care system information, keep it as a none. You just need a information, keep it as, select it as a info. If you want only the debug information, we usually take a debug information. And then wave. Wave is nothing but basically it's a cycle, life cycle kind of a thing. Or maybe if you have any template, this is basically it is given by the Salesforce by default. We don't do anything wave, NBA, we do not do anything. So usually we want just information about this. And NBA also, it's just a error strategy kind of thing. So this is also info. So I do not know NBA full form. But Wave NBA is provided by some Salesforce. Now, coming back to the finer, finest. When we say finer, finest is nothing but if you select finest, that means all the information from none to finer, everything is going to cover. Finest is going to cover errors, warnings, information, debug, all the information is going to cover. If you put finest, then you are in a trouble because it will take a lot of time to track a debug log. It will create a huge debug logs. When I say finest means everything, whatever is happening with the org, all the things that I wanted to capture. So do not ever put finer, finest. Right? So finer means it will take information, it will give you warning, it will give you the debug, it will give you the error. So combination of all this information is nothing but a finer, finest. So never use finest. So right now we have a Apex code. and debug and system debug. Perfect. So let me use name. I'll give some name here. Samskara IT debug. And let's click on it, save. No, okay. New one is created. Perfect. Let's click on it, save. This person is no matches found. That means it is not matching any other things. No matches found. Okay.
So now, why did you say never use finest? Sorry.
So fine, finer, finest is nothing, but it's a combination of all other information.
Oh, okay.
So it will take, when I say finest is nothing but from none to debug, it will capture everything. Here we have it. Yeah, here we have a specific. Now, if I say error, it is going to capture only error. If I say warning, it is going to capture only warning. But if I say fine, that means it is going to cover all the information. Basically, whatever single piece is happening, single event is happening, single click or single changes, anything happening on that, it will cover everything. Okay, so what is the change between these two? Let me change. I cannot change once it is selected. I cannot change this. I'll see that later. So let's take it as a SFDC dev console. Now, as soon as I created here, there is another trace log is created. Another trace log is created, which is 7:07 to 7:37 a.m. 7:07 a.m. to 7:37 a.m. Requested by whom? Requested by DEC batch, right? And the log type is user debug. And if you want to delete, you can delete. So what we are creating here, we are creating the trace. As soon as you click on new and create a trace, there is a one row which is added here. So this is for the few, if anybody wants to know how many traces are created from last 1 week and what are the users that is created and who has created these logs. If you wanted to track it, you can see everything in the trace flag. Right? So if I click on this here, preview. So preview is happening, then I'm clicking on this. It is taking us to I'll check back. So I'm doing some actions. Either I'm clicking here and I'm going to the lead, right? So now if I go back to the setup and search for a debug logs. See, there are 2 logs are created. First, I clicked on the VF page, which is called VF day 4, where we have created the page block. And on that page block, I clicked on the link. When I clicked on the link, it opened the another page, which is called as a My First Program. Now, if you wanted to view, there are few options here. Okay, view, download, delete. You can also download the log. You can also download it for future reference. View means it will take you to view the more information. For example, I wanted to see the duration is 117 and the status is success. That means there is no errors happening. What is the log size? Log size is in the bytes. If you see here, this is in bytes, 1196. When it has started, 7:19:08. Right? So all the logs, whatever you see here, the size is bytes. right? 1196 byte, and the duration is 117, and it is processed perfectly fine. There are no errors. In case if you see while executing, if there are any errors, it will show the error. Instead of success, it will show the error. Now, you can also delete it. Okay, once you have reviewed it, everything is done, you can click on a delete. Now let's click on a view button here. And also here, if you see request type is application. Application is browser. Click on view. Now, when you click on a view, it will give. Okay. Look at this, observe this thing. Number of SOQL queries executed till this. For every log, this will be there. Whether you are created a log for Visualforce or Apex class, Apex trigger, whatever you are doing it, as soon as you put the log for a user, you will see this information. These are basically Gartner limits, Salesforce limits. Okay. Now it will tell how many SOQL queries you have used out of 100. Limit is 100. Now how many you have used it? 0. Number of queries rows, how many rows we can query? 50,000. How many we did it? 0. We have not done anything. Like that it will show. SOQL queries, right? DML statement 150 and publish immediate DML, CPU timeout and heap size, callouts, email invocations and future calls, queuable jobs, mobile Apex. These are the default limits. For every debug logs, it will be there. Whether you created a debug log for Apex or whether you have created debug log for user or a automated process or platform event, whatever the logs are there, at the bottom of the log, you will see these limits. Okay, it will tell clearly in this entire process how many SOQL queries has executed, how many SOQL queries has executed. Sometimes we see the error, the limit has exceeded, the Gartner limit has exceeded. In that case, you can put a debug log and just cross verify how many queries has executed. Is it more than 100 or 100 queries? It is 100 out of 100 or 20 out of 20. So you can check how many queries are executed. Right? So these are very important. Now it will give on top the detailed information here. Okay. This is your debug information. The first line, whatever you see here, that is your debug. When you created a debug log, Apex code finest, Apex profile info, you clicked on a new button and we have created a new one, right? So this is your debug. So do not look at this debug. Now this is running on the API version 56.0. We are running the log on API version 56.0. Now when it started 1908, what it has done, user information. Who is the user that has done? This is the person. If I copy this and if I use that ID here, now I will know that who is the user that is doing the actions. So DEC batch. So this user is doing that. And also it will give the email ID information. And the second line is about the user information. The second line is user information. Then it says execution started. This user has started the execution. What execution it is started? Code unit started. Now here the code is started. Which code? VF_day4. VF_day4. Then there is nothing in the Visualforce page. That's the reason we do not have any more debug logs. Usually in real time, we'll have a huge debug logs. In program, we have not written anything. We simply written PageBlock. That's it. We do not have any other information. So that's the reason you cannot see any details here. Now code execution is started here. and then how much usage is done and what is the limits, the default. Now code unit is finished here, right? Execution finished. So this is how you will see. Right now, very less, right? But when we start doing the Apex, when we start calling the logic from the backend, when we start using the logic, when we start implementing the logic, that time we will see the logs, how it is creating. So I'll show you how it is happens in the real time. When we start doing the backend logic, when we start implementing the Apex classes, that time we will see how the actual logs are created. And what I'll come back. And then if I want to delete everything, I can just click on delete.
Swapna,
Yeah.
I did not understand what's the relationship between user trace flags and debug logs. What is the user trace flags?
User trace flag is to know which user has created the log for which user and when he has created.
So can you show me the relation between user trace log and debug log?
For example, if I am creating the another log, okay. Now I'll create a log for integration user. Click on this. Let's click on integration user. Perfect. And I wanted to take the 729 to 757. And I'll use the SFTC dev console. Now let's click on a save button. Now this user has created the log for this user on one file 727 and 757.
So that
Ma'am,
we can create sorry. So that means like we can create a debug log for another user also, right?
Yes, that's what we will do in real time. That's what one of the example which I have given. If client is facing some issue in the production, right? If that user is facing the issue in the production, and if we are not able to recreate the same scenario in our org, so that time what we will do is we will ask a client who is the user that the person who is the user that they are getting the error. So they will give the information. So we will put that username when we will click on new and we will mention that particular user, whoever is trying. So for example, XYZ person is trying. So that time here, the name will be XYZ and who is creating it? I am creating it. My name will come. Tomorrow, if BA wants to check who has created the logs for XYZ, they can check, okay, the DEC batch has created. Then immediately they will come to DEC batch. You have created a trace flag for this user. What happened? What is the output that you got it?
So to check the logs, we have to log in as user integration, right? And whatever activity he does, it will be logged in the debug log, correct?
Yes, when this person logged in and if he is doing some action, then you will see the output here. What is the user interface, what he has done, the entire steps you will see here in the debug log. Debug logs are logs which we wanted to see what is the action is done by the user. Trace flag is to put a debug log on that person.
Okay, got it. Thanks.
Ma'am, what is the expiration date?
Expiration date is when do you want to stop the log. You cannot put a debug log for a 2 days, 3 days or lifelong you cannot keep, right? If you put like that 2 days, 3 days, so what will happen? Immediately your debug logs will be hanged. There is a limit, over limit. So whenever we are putting a debug log, we have to always mention the end time. We have to mention the end time from when to when. More than that, we do not want to capture any more data for that user.
Ma'am, for example, if a user got a problem like what you said before, in past. So we can't create like from start date will be starting from now, right? So how can we get to know about the past, like what user is facing the issue?
We will put right now, time will be right now, and we will tell the user to try it again. We will tell clearly that information. We'll say that, okay, I'm going to put a debug log. Can that person able to try one more time after I apply the debug log? If they say that, yes, we can do that, then we will do the debug log and we will inform the client, okay, now can you tell that person to try it again? So these all conversations will happen within the client call.
The records are stored between that time only, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Whatever the actions are happening between the 727 to 757, only that time only the tracks will be, the logs will be tracked. After 57, 58 onwards, we will not be tracking any logs for the user.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so these debug logs are mostly, it's like a activity tracer, right? It's not a programming debug logs. It's not that.
It's a trace for the what are the activities, what are
Activity
the actions
trace.
are happening by the user. We will be logging that. Yeah.
Okay, so this will be using mostly in the production. But if we have to find
developers also can use it. Developers also can use it. If developer is facing some issue. Okay, so they don't know where it is failing. So in that case, developers also can put it.
Okay, so now see, in the program we put system.debug, right? So that is something different and this is different, right? We won't get those logs in the debug log.
System.debug will give you the particular field value. If you have written the logic and what is the output of that field, if you wanted to know, you have to use the system.debug. This debug logs are whatever action you are doing it in that complete flow, whatever is happening, it will track everything.
In simple words, we can say that it's like a camera. Whatever we are doing, we can just see, we can refer.
Yes. You will know what are the actions are happening, you can see that.
Swapna, I have two questions related to governor limit.
Yep.
Number one question is like whatever information mentioned here, it is for 1 hour or what is the duration? Like a number of SQL query 0 out of 100 means what? It is for 1 hour duration or 1 session duration or what it is?
It will be there for every log. Okay, there is no time frame. Each log has that. If I open the first log also has. Each log will be having it. Basically, within single flow, how many times it is executed. It's not based on the hour. It's based on the execution. If one execution happened, within one execution, how many has done here?
So in one execution, maximum limit should be 100 SQL query.
That is, yes, that is entirely the Garner limits, okay? Within single execution, okay? If you know this Apex triggers or if you know the things, what happens is trigger will be running in multiple flows, right? So there will be a recurring means it will keep on executing. That time what will happen, every time there is a one execution will happen. In single execution, how many number of queries has executed?
Okay, so for next execution, again, this number will reset.
Yes.
And count separately, right?
Yes, you can test that. So that's what I have observed. You can also test.
Okay. My second question is related to governance limit. This is the only place where I can see governance limit, or is there anywhere else in Salesforce these informations are available? Because just to see governance limit, every time I need to open log file?
No. Basically, Garner limits more in detail. We will talk another session because that is a huge topic. It will not be enough right now.
Okay. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
Continue, ma'am.
Okay. So let's go back here. Okay, developer console status. Sometimes you see this error. What is this error? For example, you kept the developer console, you opened the developer console, okay? You opened this developer console and you went for tea break or lunch break or anything you went. Once you come back, what will happen? You immediately see this. That means it went into the idle status. The developer console went in idle status. If you want to resume this, when it goes in the idle status, that means it is not going to track any of your actions. When I say any of your actions, we have a debug logs at the here also, right? If this is active and if we are walking and if I go somewhere and I'm doing something else, clicking on the lead and clicking on the accounts and I'm opening the record, whatever I'll do, what happens here? It's tracking the every step of me, it is tracking here. Developer console is always tracked here. In the developer console, the logs are always tracked here, okay? Without activating the debug log on the user. Two ways we can do it. One is in the developer console. Another way is in Salesforce. Two ways we can do it. In Salesforce, if you wanted to track a debug logs, you have to click on a new and select the person name, how you wanted to, which person you wanted to track the logs, and then you enable that, give a particular time. And this debug log is for the developers. This is for developers. Developers, whatever they are doing and whatever actions they are doing, everything will be tracked here. Okay. So for example, I ran some execution. Okay. Developer has ran some execution and then went for a break. Now, why developer ran execution? Because he wanted to track what is happening here. So he thought that maybe I can track it here. Okay. And he came back after 1 hour. When he came back after 1 hour, there is a pop-up message which says here idle. As soon as it says idle, that means it is not tracking any of your status. When the developer console says idle means these logs are not tracked. You are not going to track any logs. So what is basically, when it will go after 120 minutes, it will expire your developer console session. Your developer session will expire after 120 minutes. Okay, that time it will show either to resume or JavaScript not responding, some errors you will see. If you keep it open for a long time. If your developer session is open for more than 120 minutes, then it will expire. And then how to set up? Where can we see that? How can you say that there is a 120 minutes the developer session will expire? Where can we see that information? If you navigate to setup, there is a session timeout. In sessions timeout, you can see security controls and session settings. Otherwise, go to the setup, directly search for a session settings. Let's go back. So if I go to the setup, okay, now here I'll click on it, session settings. If I click on a session settings, you will see here timeout is 2 hours, which is 120 minutes. Timeout is value is 2 hours. You can keep it 4 hours, 8 hours, 12 hours, 24 hours, 1 hour, 30 minutes, 50 minutes. But if you change here, it will impact all the users who are working in this org. All the users who are using this org, it will be impacted for everybody. So do not ever change this timeout value. Do not ever change this timeout value, especially in production. Do not change it. If you change it, immediately it is going to impact everybody, all the users within this org. All the users within this org, it is going to impact. Now, I am forcing logout on a session timeout. It's enabled. And force re-login after login as a user. So these all are, automatically it will log out. Right? And another option will be there, lightning login. In case if you see that there is a person does not have a lightning user permission, then I do not want to directly, when we log in the Salesforce, by default will come to the lightning, right? How we are coming to the lightning? Because here we have a setup called allow lightning login. When we say allow lightning login, by default, whether the person has a lightning login user permission or not, by default, as soon as I click on a login, then immediately we'll jump to the lightning. Okay, so here you can see the timeout, session timeout information will be there. Set the session security and session expiration timeout for your organization. This is for organization. This is for organization.
Sapna, I have one question.
Yeah.
So such changes which impact entire user, like session timeout change, do we need to do such changes in odd hours or off like after office hours, or do we need some downtime information, provide to downtime information to end user, like how we can do such changes? So this is just
I
like
would
example.
suggest production, don't touch this. Production, don't touch this. See, only we need it because for our purpose. It is not for the client purpose. Because developers are using the developer consoles, developers are using the org. So for only developer, if you feel that only developer or certain users is required timeout, not everybody needs a timeout, right? Not everybody needs after 4 hours timeout, no. If you think that there is only one person or certain profiles, we need a logout, then there is an option called profile. Okay, go to profile. How can we identify the profile? Where can we go? So click on this avatar, right? Click on this settings. And click on advanced user details. You will see here one of the option called profile. This person is part of this profile. We will cover this topic later for you to understand right now. Profile is, this user is part of this profile. Okay, click on this profile. And in profile level, we have a session settings. There is a session setting option is there. Right here also you have a session settings, 2 hours of inactivity.
Okay, so this we can change profile wise also.
Yeah, profile well you change it, but whoever is belong to this profile, you have to talk to those users.
Okay.
So this profile has, for me, only one user is there. Okay, in real time you will see 10 users or 20 users, more than that users will be there. You need to talk to all the users, get a permission, then change the profile.
Okay.
Hi Swapna, in real-time project, we have does not change that things now because access is not there for
which one you are talking, profile or session settings?
section settings.
We should not be touching the session setting. That is, I just gave the information to you, how the session timeout is there. That is where,
Okay.
Okay. So we should not be touching session settings.
Okay.
This is just for information I gave you, but do not touch anything here.
On profile also we cannot touch that things.
Profile, you
proper.
need to get a permission from all the users. What is the reason why you wanted to change every details you have to give? If all the users are agreed, then only you can change the profile level. So
Okay.
those profiles are only internal profile. Do not touch the client profiles. We
Okay.
should not be touching the client profile. Those are internal profile, the developer profile or admin profile, whatever the internal developer's profile is there, we should be talking to that.
Okay.
Okay. So that is the developer console. Now back to the homework. This is the homework. Please take a screenshot. These are different blocks. This is one block about me, and here the help title and URL. And my contact details is another block. And we will be displaying the contact details here. And this has to be hyperlink here. Education, another block, education hyperlink. By clicking on this, you can give any URL or any Visualforce page that you wanted to give. So it has to be clickable. As soon as I click on this, it should open the page. So 4 blocks are there. One is about me, another one, my contact details, another one education, another one project, and then last one is address. 4 blocks. Okay, that's all for today. Any questions?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
Swapna, can you please go back one slide on the homework? Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Let me stop recording.